Martin Gerber starts tonight against a busload of Canadians, the likes of Saku Koivu and company, of course. Big points on the table for the visitors tonight. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Molson Canadian Leaf Nation pregame show presented by Tim Hortons. I'm Jody Vance. Glad you could be along for the ride tonight as we count down to puck drop between the Habs and Leafs. Got to introduce our esteemed panel of men, and one wearing an exceptionally handsome Joe Bowen. We will talk about this T-shirt and the bottle drive involved for your charity a little later on in the program, so stick around for that. Joe, you're on AM 640 Toronto Radio tonight with the call. Mark Morrow is here, our hockey analyst, and our senior reporter, Paul Hendrick. We've got a lot to cover off, as mentioned. The Leafs have been very, very busy acquiring new talent. We will cover off that. We'll also discuss the fact that the Leafs played back-to-back with the Flyers, home and home that is, but played back-to-back last night and tonight. Will they be ready to go against a very motivated Habs squad? It all is covered in our headlines, brought to you by Ford, powered by you. Paul?
Jody, headline number one, Brian Burke has his rebuilding plan in motion. Headline number two, bouncing back. The Leafs need to after last night. And headline number three is Montreal getting its act together at just the right time. And Joe, the Maple Leafs have signed a pair of collegiate blue chippers in Christian Hansen and Tyler Bozak this past week. Both very talented kids who wanted to play here with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Christian makes his NHL debut last night. Would we describe it as a steady performance in Game 1 for him?
Well, I'm sure that it was a nervous performance, if nothing else, but certainly Christian Hansen, who had played center on a trapping team, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, and now all of a sudden was asked to play on the wing, and I thought he did all right. I mean, he was in a hornet's nest right from the start because the Flyers, who'd been called out by their general manager, had a whirlwind first period and got a 6-0 lead. So that was a difficult situation for, I think, any player, let alone a first game player, to be involved in. But I thought that Christian did well. He certainly can skate. He's a big body, and he can shoot the puck. And I think that as far as his first outing, I think that it was passing marks. But here's a situation where they're just trying to get people to be better in the organization, to push from below. And the addition of Bozak and Hansen are two players that they're hoping turn into either a Mike Johnson or maybe even an Adam Oates. But then you'd really be counting yourself lucky.
Hansen last night in Philadelphia, 17 minutes and 39 seconds. He was a -1 and did have one shot on net. So the Leaf rebuild has begun in earnest under the guidance of Brian Burke, with talent to come from all corners. Here's the president and general manager.
I could care less where players come from. You know, we intend to build this team with junior players, college players, European players. If they start playing hockey on Mars, we'll draft players from Mars. So I could give a rat's ass where a player comes from, as long as he can play here.
Well, that would include Tyler Bozak as well.
I nominate you to be the first scout on Mars.
That'd be a heck of a road trip.
Yes, it would. Think of the per diems.
There's Tyler Bozak, the University of Denver, the Pioneers, a tremendous program. Injured his knee in December, Mark Morrow, but this is a guy with might fit into the long-term plans, but certainly immediately next year he's got a chance to make this hockey club.
Yeah, if you go by the scouting reports, obviously a lot of us haven't had the chance to watch him play firsthand, but if you go by scouting reports, he's arguably the most NHL-ready in the college ranks, most NHL-ready player right now, that is. He's a smart two-way centerman. He's got some offensive skills, but he's also very aware defensively. Apparently he's outstanding with the puck in traffic, knows his responsibility on the ice, and again, it's all about building that foundation. Whether it's youth, whether it's from junior, whether it's from college ranks, you've got to get some guys in here, especially with the salary cap era moving forward. You've got to have young players come in and supplement your key star players that are making the big dollars if you want to be successful in this league, and that's what Brian Burke is doing right now, building this foundation.
Most exciting week of my life, you know. I flew down here, went to Newport Agency and met with all the guys, and they helped me out a lot and just had a great process, and it was an exciting time, and came down and I picked the Toronto Maple Leafs, which, you know, I'm very excited about, and I just can't wait to get on that ice.
Following that press conference, had an opportunity to sit down one-on-one with Tyler, and we'll show that a little later on the show, so stick around for that.
Well, let's get back to Hansen and Bozak, and I'd have to wonder, Joe, what are the tangibles that would allow these guys to be contributing members of the Toronto Maple Leafs maybe as quickly as next season? What do you like?
One of the things, of course, is the fact that they're older, Paul, and they are more developed as individuals as far as athleticism is concerned and as far as growing up is concerned. You go through a 4-year program at Notre Dame in a finance department, you've got some smarts going for you, and Tyler Bozak's done the same thing in going to school in Denver. So these two will be more mature, certainly, than 18-year-old kids coming out of junior hockey. Wait a minute. Did I say Luke Shen? Okay, let's take
not
that
Luke
back.
Shen. Yeah,
forget
okay,
about all of
yeah.
that. But the whole idea is that they should be a lot more mature and develop as young men rather than kids coming into the league where you need a little bit of time to grow into your body and grow into your manhood, really, as far as being able to handle this kind of a pressure. So I think the maturity will be a very big factor for them.
Mark Morrow, Brian Burke no stranger to this. He came into a situation in Anaheim where they'd had some success by signing collegiate talent, and we see the same scenario taking shape here in Toronto.
Absolutely. You look at these names, Anaheim very aggressive in going after those college free agents. Chris Kunitz now with Pittsburgh, Andy McDonald now with St. Louis, and Dustin Penner. The interesting thing that all Leaf fans should take note of, all three of those players did spend time in the minors to develop their approach to the professional game. Each one of them averaged about a year and a half, 2 years. All three of them were members of the Stanley Cup run, and all three of them are now big-time NHL players. So Brian Burke, obviously recipient of that when he became GM in Anaheim, and now he's looking to follow that example here with Toronto.
Still available, Joe, including one, Matt Gilroy here, a very talented defenseman, and he and Camp are busy in the NCAA Frozen Four at the Verizon Center in Washington. So we haven't seen the end of this, and the Leafs still very much in the mix.
He's asking for a lot of money, I think, from what I understand, though, Henny, and he's a little bit older, too, so it may be a little bit of a contractual situation for him. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up going.
Bouncing back, and the Maple Leafs have not had a lot of success this season on the second half of back-to-backs, as Jody alluded to earlier. Mark Morrow, obviously an inspired start is going to have to be performed here tonight, just as Philadelphia did last night on their home ice.
And I'm sure regardless of the fact that this game means nothing, there's a wake-up call going through that dressing room. Ron Wilson was not happy last night. Yes, they battled back towards the end of the game, but they were absolutely horrible on the defensive side of the game and in their approach to the one-on-one battles. Horrible start. Pressure went off by the time they did get back to that game. They've got to play each and every game, regardless of the meaning, regardless of the outcome, hard, or Ron Wilson will not be satisfied. He'll be looking for a much better effort tonight.
Let's go to headline number 2, and the Montreal Canadiens certainly bouncing back after having played the Maple Leafs back in Montreal on March the 21st. And Joe, we look back at that hockey team, the Montreal Canadiens, a very fragile lot who simply on that particular night didn't get the goaltending.
No, and that's been a situation where they've had to turn things around. And, of course, Carey Price has been down with the flu bug, and Halak played the last night, and they've got young Mr. Denis up as well. But they'll go as far as their goaltending will take them. And if Carey Price is the guy, then he's going to have to be allowed to run with it when he is fully healthy and over the flu bug. But here's a situation, too, where the Canadiens were very fragile when we saw them in Montreal. Not only that, but their fans were just about jumping out of buildings over all of this. What with the Bleu Blanc et Rouge and the 100th anniversary, and it looked like it was going down into the trash receptacle rather quickly. They're not out of the woods yet. They've got a difficult schedule as they go through the rest of the schedule here, as you get a look here at what's going on as far as other teams in the league. But it is going to be a difficult situation for them, and they can't let up at all. And so I'm sure that Bob Gainey and company must have sat there and said, oh my God, the Leafs are getting it handed to them tonight. They'll be tough tomorrow night. That hopefully will be the case.
Well, look at this board here, Mark. Can we properly assess the Habs' success in recent weeks, considering the opposition they've played? Because most of these teams are non-playoff contending teams.
The thing you have to look at in perspective is that if you're a playoff team, you've got to beat the teams below you. So they've stepped up and they've done that. It might have been the perfect time to play sort of weaker teams because they really were struggling and had to get their game back on track. They've been able to do that. Now moving forward, they do play some playoff teams heading down the stretch. They have a game against Boston, one against the Rangers, Pittsburgh in there as well, I believe. So they're going to be, if they make it, they're going to be playoff tested with this last stretch of games.
All right, we're going to send Paul Henrik downstairs because I think we're going to have a little conversation with Brian Burke. But before we send you upstairs to the radio booth, Mr. Bowen, can you tell us a little bit about returns for leukemia?
Yeah, this is the third year that we've run this UFCW Local 12R24, along with the beer store, 440 locations around Ontario. We invite you to enjoy the holiday weekend responsibly.
Right.
And then bring your empties, whether they be beer, wine, or liquor bottles, back to the beer store of your choice and donate all or a portion of those towards leukemia research. We did over $600,000 a year ago.
Wow.
We're looking to try and up that ante substantially
Let's
this
do $1
year.
million this year.
All right, fine.
Why not?
We'll just go to Morrow's garage and
Seriously, like your
Fine.
empties. How many of us are guilty of putting our empties in those big recycle bins
No,
at the end of our
don't do it
street?
this way.
Let's take them to the beer store, drop
Hang
them
on
off.
a minute.
What's the date we want to drop them off?
May 23rd, 24th is the dates to bring them back.
May 2-4.